Hello and welcome to the 41 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball Podcast. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. Tonight's episode brought to us by our good friends at S2 Cognition. S2 Cognition delivers a revolutionary approach to helping athletes understand how in-game decisions impact their performance from youth levels all the way to the pros. Get yourself an assessment from S2 and let's understand what is good and what is not good about our swing decisions. I want to say also thank you to Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. See pitchlogic.com for more information. Speaking of the highest level of college baseball journalism, I am joined by the great Kendall J. Rogers and the artist known as Zebby Barrels, Aaron J. Fitt. Gentlemen, good evening. Salutations.
Yeah, good to talk to you. By the way, speaking of Pitch Logic, I got to hear some Larry Sorensen over the weekend, tuning in a couple of those weight games over the weekend. He did a great job.
Yes, he was amazing. Kendall, I think your microphone is like some different microphone, if you want to fidget with that while we're talking. And I'm going to give you a chance to gather yourself, Kendall, because we need we're taping this on Monday, which is rankings day. And there you go. Well done, Kara. Kendall just gets drugged through the mud on Rankings Monday. It is unbelievable. The slander, the what's the word I'm looking for, Fitzy? Liberiousness? What's the libel? What's the
libelous?
He gets slandered is what I'm trying to say by Florida State fans. Oh no, now Kendall's frozen. There's no way he's frozen.
You know, all this time he spent complaining about my internet. Maybe it's his internet that's been the problem the whole time.
Oh my gosh. All right. So while Kendall is doing this, this gives us a chance for a PSA, Fitzy. We have two things to talk about today. First of all, we didn't rank Florida State or Georgia, but Florida State remains undefeated.
Right.
Even they would admit their schedule has been way less than challenging. I would argue they have not played a regional team to this point. Yeah.
But listen, go ahead. Keep going, please.
So 2 points I want to make. One is that Kendall is not the only person that does these rankings. It's you and me and Kendall and Joe. Now, you and Joe smartly stay off Twitter on Rankings Mondays. But here's the other thing I want to say. And some Florida State people admitted this. Florida State did start last season 11-3 with a series win over Omaha-bound TCU, only to finish DFL in the ACC. I think they were DFL. It was either them or Louisville.
No, that was them.
So, yeah, it was them, right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. We would have ranked Florida State clearly if somebody had lost, but we stuck to our what's the word I'm looking for? Our philosophy of we don't like to take a team out of the rankings for winning a weekend. So go ahead, Fitzy.
Yeah, and also it's not a slam dunk we would have ranked them if there was a space, because again, hashtag play somebody, Runes.
Afraid to compete.
Hashtag play somebody. Kendall, can you hear me?
I was afraid the Florida State fans hacked into my computer while I was gone.
They clearly hacked into your computer.
It was perfect that you were frozen in mid-tomahawk chop for like a good 30 seconds on screen. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, and of course we get people coming at us like, oh, well, there's like 7 teams in the rankings who have worse strength of schedules than we do. First of all, like you can't look at the SOS numbers this time of year. Florida State's played a bunch of teams who are like roughly 500. And so their strength of schedule is not going to be horrible, but like not one of those teams is a regional team. They haven't played the team with the best record that they've played so far, South Florida. They played them one time. They're 9-6. Not going to be that large team, I mean, like you swept New Orleans, okay, 8-7. I mean, again, like their record isn't terrible, and so it's not going to kill your SOS. But that's not that large team. Yeah. Western Carolina, Butler, these are not regional teams, boys. And so, like, do we all agree that Florida State is much improved? Yeah, absolutely. We thought so heading into the year. We wouldn't have projected them to be a regional team coming off a DFL finish in the ACC last year if we didn't think that they were going to be much improved. That said, what they've done so far has really not shown us much because it's just hard to evaluate against that schedule. Now, hey, they've dominated it. They're 14-0. They won a lot of games by a healthy margin, so that's great. It's very encouraging.
Their offense definitely seems to be better.
Yep. And they're pitching. I mean, for sure, they're better in all phases. I totally believe that. It's not that I doubt Florida State. It's just that, like, play somebody. Who listen, let me ask you guys a hypothetical. Who's had the more impressive season at this point? 14-0 Florida State, or 9-5 UC Santa Barbara? Is that what they are? 9-5 UC Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara's got 6 wins, better than any of the wins Florida State has.
Yeah.
At Campbell, 2 over Oregon, 3 over UConn. I know UConn's off to a tough start, but they're in regionals 2 out of every 3 years.
Yes, and
yeah, I mean the
exactly.
thing that I don't like too is like, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just going to wrap it up. Like exactly, UConn's 3-9, and because they've played a brutal schedule and their Northeast team, and like that happens, but like they're better than any team Florida State's played. I'm just telling you right now, I believe that to be the case. And I know they're 3-9, but that's what I'm telling you is like you can't just go off strength of schedule rankings in March. You can't. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, my point too was like I wasn't going to get in this pissing contest on Twitter, but like, if you're going to go off of SOS and go off of RPI and things like that on March 11th, then these people should be making a pitch for Nebraska, who's 3 in the RPI. They should be making a pitch for UCF, who, by the way, just got swept by OU. But guess what? They're 5th in the RPI, so clearly they should be a top 10 team. That's not the way. Like you have to use. I'm not saying like. I guess I can't say it. Like, there's got to be a little bit of common sense here, and like that you can't just look straight at SOS. Now, if we're in mid-April, and FSU's play weeks of ACC play, everybody's played weeks of SEC play, etc., then yeah, you can start to look at SOS and go, hey, dude, like they have a 20 SOS, and you still have them 24, and they've got 3 losses. Like, what are you thinking? That's a valid point. Yep. But using SOS and which leads in RPI right now is like silly.
Let me put a positive spin on this. Oh, Fitzy, go ahead. Finish your thought, and then I'm going to put a positive bow on it.
And, it's not like Florida State has a good SOS. It's 105. It's not like horrendous, but like, it's not like, oh, well, we got this elite strength of schedule. I mean, UCF, though, to your point, I mean, they're 9th in non-conference strength of schedule. They're 5th in the RPI. Like, they shouldn't be a top 25 team either. You can't go by this stuff. But I'll take again, just to finish my thought earlier on Santa Barbara, like, you go out and you play road series against regional postseason caliber teams, Oregon, Campbell, even Sac State and UConn, 4 good series in a row. You're 9-5. You are much more deserving, in my opinion, of a top 25 spot than a team that goes 14-0 against 14, in 14 games against teams that are not regional caliber.
Yeah. Here's the positive. So this whole kerfuffle on Twitter today gave me a excuse to DM Brett Nevitt, who covers FSU and does an awesome job. Like he's really in the know. Like he's in the weeds. And so he made some good points, just talking about how the obvious questions were defense up the middle, catcher and middle infield, and he just said like it's been good, but it's hard to say because they haven't been sped up yet. He said that Link has already switched Lodice and Farrow in the middle. Like I guess Farrow is the kid from UCF. He's the better athlete, but they moved him to second and put Lodice, the North Florida transfer, at short because he's a little bit more sure-handed. And I also asked him about Jamie Arnold. Was really good one time through the order last year, but he's sustaining it. And he just said that he's made a mechanical adjustment. He said Mike Posey's done a really nice job with him, and he's holding the velo longer. But like Gavin Adams is out for the year, and so I mean, like you guys said, here's the positive on Florida State. There was a woman that was tweeting at us most of today, and my favorite tweet of hers, which I'm so disappointed she backed down and deleted it. She mentioned that we didn't rank Florida State because we're too busy listening to Kirk Herbstreit. Please put that tweet back up. It is amazing. It's a delicious tweet. Like you don't need to delete that tweet. Is amazing. If Kirk Herbstreit, if you're listening and you DM us, we will rank Florida State if they go 0-4 this week. I mean, maybe I'm not authorized.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I'm going to overrule you on that one.
Okay. So,
the thing about it too is like, I know people like jokingly. Well, some people jokingly say like, oh, you hate our team, and you don't respect the Seminoles. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we had a really high bar for FSU last year, and I mean. Out of a trio of people in the college baseball space, like, has there been a trio higher than Link Jarrett? Like, no, we think Link Jarrett's an elite coach. So, I mean, we were as surprised as anybody at last year, but would we be surprised if Florida State has a great season? Absolutely not. The guy got to Omaha with Notre Dame. No offense, friends.
No, it's good. And the same woman said that we dislike Link, and that's like there's not a human in college baseball that dislikes Link Garrett.
Yeah,
right,
I don't
Garrett?
think
There.
I feel like Tadlock and Link are on my list of they
Yeah.
could like cuss me out and I'd still be like, man, I love that guy.
Okay, boys, but that wasn't the best message we received about the rankings
Uh-oh.
today. The best message we received from the rankings today was a text that Kendall got from his mom, which he put on Twitter for all of America, which was the right thing to do. It was absolutely amazing. Let me see. I got to find it, Kendall. It is so amazing. Where is the best part of the text is your mom is an Aggies fan, right, Kendall? Can we confirm that?
That is correct.
I love that she was really she was perplexed on how the Aggies are still ranked behind Florida. Is that what it was?
LSU.
Oh, behind LSU. My
LSU
favorite
has
part
not deserved that kind of respect.
Yeah, my favorite part was at the end of the text where she questioned your ranking. Your own mom questioned your ranking. She said LY, which means love you, and then followed it up with another text that said, I'm just puzzled. It was everyone's got to go on, press pause right now, get on Twitter and see Kendall's mom's tweet. Kendall, you've not responded to your mom, right?
No, I have.
Okay, what'd you go with?
I said, I responded with LSU did just win the national championship. We just got back, and now we're going to talk about you on the podcast.
Yes. Oh, so great.
She's the best. She loves some college baseball.
It was the text of the year, which became the tweet of the year. It's
just having BS and love you in the same text. That's just an amazing relationship.
She did. She said she called the rankings BS and then said love you in the same text. It's amazing.
I like that. See, why can't the young lady from Florida State be the same way? Like, hey, you're a loser. I hate you. By the way, I love you, man.
Yeah, there's no LY. Yep.
If I may, that was a delightful exchange. I don't think my mother has ever watched a college baseball game or read anything I've ever written. But that's cool. We love you too, Mom.
But she does watch the podcast.
Yeah, religiously. You can count on that. Let me just quickly interject here, though. Also, like, I feel like I have to go through this every damn year in March, right? Like the way the rankings work. I mean, like I always tell people it's like a seesaw. Okay, it starts at the beginning of the year. It's 100% prediction, 0% results. And then as you go, it gradually tips so that by the time we get to selection day, it's 100% results, 0% predictions. And in the meantime, it's a gradual shift. And so like this point of the year, we're still tilted toward prediction. And that's why, like, if you start the year in the rankings and you hold your own, even if you play a soft schedule, if you're Florida State and you started in the rankings and you go 14-0 and beat up a bunch of nobodies, you're still going to stay in the rankings. You know, you're not going to fall out. But like you can't break into the rankings by beating nobodies. I mean, it's hard to do that. And so that's just our process. Like if you're in, it's easier to stay in. Okay, for better or for worse, because the rankings are tilted toward prediction. And the reason that we do that is because people care what we think about the teams. And so like we, do a lot of homework. We do a lot of research. We have a ton of conversations. We write 120 fall reports in depth where we break down the entire roster of all these teams. We spent all fall seeing and spent all summer seeing these players. Like we have a decent idea usually of who's going to be pretty good heading into a season. And so then we stick them in the top 25 accordingly. And they kind of have to play their way out once they're in. And like that happens, it will get sorted out over the course of the year. We're not going to get them all. We're going to miss some and they're going to fall out of the rankings. That's what happens. But like, we're not just going to, jump on the flavor of the week every week because they're undefeated against nobody. That's just not how it works.
Fitzy, in your seesaw analogy, what percent is what Kirk Herbstreit wants us to do? I didn't catch that part of it.
About 85% runes. I mean, whatever Herbie wants.
What's funny is Fitt has typed out like a script so he can just read the same thing every year.
It's like,
so
and
like
I
the
get
Surgeon
it.
General warning over here.
Right, exactly. When people are going to complain, and I get it. Like, listen, I understand. But it also just plain at this point, I don't feel like engaging on this topic. Like we've been down this road. Like it is what it is. So you guys feel free. It's all in good fun. This stuff's all.
You know what though? Not to just continue this conversation too much longer, but I will say this: we're gonna potentially go from Florida State rank talk to if Mississippi State wins that LSU series this weekend to talk about if they're gonna host. So just get ready for that one.
Look, watch your lips, as they say. Boys, let's do this. I want to talk about a series, and then I might have a game or two for us to play. So, Fitzy, you were at Wake Duke. That's the series of the year so far. Not necessarily the weekend of the year, but it's got to be the series of the year. And so I'm going to stay with Fitzy's seesaw analogy, where you have 100%, and you can put it over here, you can put it over there. If you're listening only on a pod, you didn't see me tilting my shoulders here and for. So here's my question. Duke versus Wake. It sounded like the weather was kind of wonky. The series had some wonkiness to it. So my two options for you are, what percent is, hey, there are real concerns for Wake Forest right now. Like maybe maybe Hartle doesn't have enough out pitches. Maybe Massey's not going to translate to the rotation. Maybe, what are we going to do with Nick Kurtz hitting 240 whatever he's hitting? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the bullpen doesn't have enough. Or is Duke just this good? And Duke is a team we need to start talking about, is like they could win. This is where my brain went today. Duke's not just an Omaha potential team. They could go to Omaha and win this thing.
Yes.
Why couldn't Duke win the national title, right? Like what?
Yes.
They just, it felt like they were every bit trading punches with Wake Forest, who was number one. So you guys go wherever you want with that. But that's kind of where my mental seesaw is going, is what part of this is, man, Wake Forest is really good with some real issues to hammer out. And what part of this is, hey, Duke's just awesome.
Yeah, and it's a great question, and I think it's the question after this weekend, because I don't want to overreact, because let's face it, it was a 9-8, 10-8 game on Sunday, like basically a coin toss, ugly, like wind blown affair. Duke held on though, because their bullpen is the best bullpen in the country, in my opinion. I still believe that, and it's only getting better now, because now Bielenson, best closer in the country, I firmly believe that. Is getting more help because James Talon is starting to figure it out, and Fran O'Shell is starting to figure it out. That bullpen is elite. And I'm going to bet on teams that have elite bullpens, and especially if you also have a bona fide, All-America first-round ace with Santucci, who didn't pitch well this weekend, but he's a dude, as we all know. Their pitching staff is fantastic. Their offenses, I've talked about repeatedly, they just hit the, they hit the jackpot on all their transfer guys, and their freshmen are awesome. I mean, they're real deal freshmen. I mean, they're just really good. They're just really complete. They're extremely well coached. They play very good defense. They have a great game plan. I thought they had, and Chris Pollard broke it down really well. Their game plan against Hartle, their game plan against Massey. It's like, they're just, they always seem to have that extra edge. Like, Hartle's going to come in at you with this cutter. He's going to run it on your hands. Most teams, they're going to stand off the plate, give you more room on that cutter. We're going to do the opposite. Eric Tyler came up with this plan. We're going to get right on top of the plate and try to take away the cutter that way. And they executed it. They had 11 hits against him. So, I just think that their coaching makes their talent play way up. And so I absolutely, I think they're a legitimate national title contender. And today they are a better team than Wake Forest. And Wake does have some things to figure out. And again, I'm not going to overreact. They haven't played great baseball the first month. I mean, they haven't played a good schedule either, so they were able, kind of paper over it. But they haven't really found their stride. I mean, offensively, they've been kind of stuck in the mud. Kurtz is still kind of out of sorts. I mean, that's their best player. He looks kind of lost on offense. He didn't look good on defense either. It was weird this weekend. That's uncharacteristic for him. He's a very good defensive first baseman. So they need to get him on track. But, I mean, their lineup is not as deep as it was last year. They're really not as good behind the plate, guys. Like, that's, for me, is a concern. And I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but they did not get good catching this weekend, and it cost them repeatedly.
Bennett Lee, is that his name from last year? He was really good. Like, he was... Yeah, that's a big loss.
A big loss, underrated loss. And, I do like Michael Massey a lot. Love him in the bullpen. Need to see more of him as a starter, because it was not a good look this weekend. Like, they wore him down fast, and his stuff dropped precipitously in the third inning from 395 down to 90-91. And so, I think ideally, if a Hagen LeFew, the very talented freshman lefty, if he can maybe really emerge and wind up as a Sunday starter, and you have Massey back in the bullpen to be a true shutdown guy, I think I kind of like that combination better, but we'll see. I mean, I do really believe in Hartle. I'm not putting too much stock in this weekend. He's awesome. He's got lots of ways to get you out. And Burns, of course, is right there as probably the best pitcher in the country, along with Hagen Smith. And so like that gives him such a high floor. It's given so much margin for error when you have Hartle and Burns. And then after that, I mean, they'll figure it out. Like they do have enough raw talent and star power that I still think they're probably an Omaha type team, but like they're not as good as they were last year, period. Point. They just aren't. And I think, because they were preseason number one and they had all the hype, I mean, to me, that was more an indictment of the other contenders. Like, like they're just like, I thought in the preseason, like there were things I didn't love about Wake Forest. I mean, they had 5 preseason All-Americans, but like the depth of that roster was never what it was last year. Never, not close.
Kendall, what say you on this? Like more you leave this weekend more excited about Duke or more concerned about Wake?
I'll say more excited about Duke. I mean, I watched the Friday game. I watched snippets of the rest of them. But, one thing I really liked, and I hope the situation is not a little bit fuzzy here for me, but I want to say that the Bielenson was on the mound. I think Wake Forest either had 2 on or bases loaded with no outs or 1 out. And, like, I just love the dude's, like, persona on the mound. Like, you could just tell by looking at him, like, even before he faced the last couple of batters that, like, he was ready for that moment. And when you have a guy like that, I thought Aaron kind of said it best on text yesterday. He was very Kevin Koppish, where like it's almost like when the moment gets bigger, like he gets better. And to have that kind of luxury at the back end of a bullpen, I mean, that's a game changer, not only in terms of winning series, but also as you get in the postseason and you need somebody out there that can come back day after day and throw it at an elite level. So I think for me, it was more Duke being maybe a little bit more elite than expected.
Yeah, that's where my head's at. What you said a moment ago, Fitzy, sums up my feelings on Wake Forest perfectly. They've got real things to figure out, and I'm fully confident they're going to do it. This is better. It's better to take your punches now and figure it out and go into the postseason really knowing who you are, as opposed to going into the postseason where you really haven't gotten hit right in the jaw yet. So I'm not concerned about Wake. Duke, man. Let me just wrap with Duke on this. Like Chris Pollard has done an amazing job at Duke. We know that, right? Like they hadn't been to a regional since the 60s, since 1961, and now they've been to 3 super regionals in 5 years. But this coaching staff that he's assembled, we know Chris Pollard is type A, right? Like he's going to be challenging to work for because it's going to be turbo all the time. But when you look at some of these guys, I mean, Ty Blankmeyer, Brady Kirkpatrick, Eric Tyler, they hired Brian Sikowski to do recruiting and analytics and player dev, and Daniel Young from Notre Dame, baseball ops. Like these are all really talented, sharp people that I think are a perfect fit. They're kind of like that yang to Chris Pollard's yin, and just it kind of surprised me because Duke has won all of these regionals on the road. But so that kind of makes it not feel flukish, but it just makes it feel like upstartish. And then they've like kind of shifted into, no, this is not an upstart deal. Like we're just legitimately awesome right now. It reminds me of Wake last year, kind of, where like they've just hit on everything, like every transfer, every freshman, the coaching staff. I mean, just this is what program momentum looks like to me.
That's so well said. I love that comp. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's like what Wake was at this point last year, where it's like, hey, wait a minute, like we thought these guys were good, but like they hit on everything. Like they're really, really good. That's where I am with Duke. Yeah,
they skipped really good. They went right from good to like holy crap, right? It's like, So, hey, boys, let's do this. I want to talk about players at the end of the pod, but I'm going to read off some of the results from last weekend. And I'm not going to read off Duke Wake. Like that was the Impact series. I'm going to read off like 12 or 13 of them. What I want you to do is I want you to pick the 3 that just feel like they're stuck in your brain, like the ones that really have captured your attention. So Oregon won a series at Arizona State. Florida won a series over St. Mary's, but St. Mary's beat them in a game, and Florida had to walk them off in another game. Like St. Mary's, with 6 seniors and a 5th-year senior on the mound, really gave Florida a hard time. Miami won a series over UVA. Kennesaw State won a series over Kentucky. UC Santa Barbara swept UConn. UC Irvine and Fresno State pushed. And that was interesting to me. Fresno State's sneaky, really good. Austin P won another game against this SEC team. They had a really hard-fought series. They lost to Auburn. Southern Miss won the series against Louisiana Tech. Kansas won a series over TCU. I put Arkansas's offense. That was interesting to me that they had one really rough game with McNeese, and then they went off. Cal swept UCLA. Nebraska won a series over South Al. Oklahoma State won a series over Mercer, and Texas won a series over Texas Tech. What I want you to do is pick three that really stick with you. Do you want me to read those off to you again?
No, I've got the list. The list you sent earlier, Runes. I'm ready.
You're muted, Kendall. Fitzy, do you have your three? Your three? Like, I'm looking for first flinches. Like, what are the three that jump out at you?
Kennesaw State jumps out at me because it sounds like they're really dangerous, and I know their record overall. What are they, 9-7 maybe? Like, it's not special, but they
hammered Clemson.
They hammered Clemson, and talking to the Clemson people, it sounded like they were pretty impressed with that team. I loved their freshmen 2 years ago. Those guys are juniors now, and it seems like they're kind of really have come into their own, and I think they're sneaky, very interesting. So Kennesaw State to me jumps out. My Kansas Jayhawks, and I'm using that.
Possessive.
That possessive for a reason. I've been all over this team since the fall. Saw them in Stillwater in the fall, and walked away thinking, "Whoa! Like, hey, wait a minute! These guys, they got a lot back in the lineup. They crushed the portal. We ranked their transfer class pretty well, and Dominic Vagley. I watched some of his start the other day. It's real stuff. I think they can pitch. I think they can hit. I think they can athlete. I like their team, and they didn't get off to a great start the first 3 weeks, but they kind of held their own. And this is a statement weekend for the Jayhawks. So those would be the first two that jump out at me, and I'll yield some more of my time here so I don't hog the mic.
Kendall, what are three that jump out at you? First flinches.
Yeah, I go with Southern Miss at La Tech. I think one of the biggest question marks I had about going in that series is that La Tech had been playing really well, lost their first game of the year earlier in the week against Xavier. But I think the biggest question mark for me going that weekend was Southern Miss had, pitched at a very high level. Like when you look at, Billy Oldham and, Nico Mazza, both those guys had pitched really well, but their offense had really struggled going into the weekend. And I kind of thought that might be a weekend where they get the offense going, just because it's an old school CUSA rivalry series. If you remember, a few years ago in the same conference, like it was almost like those two teams almost came to blows every single time they played. And so I kind of wondered if their offense would get going. It did get going over the weekend. They were excellent across the board. They dominated that series for the most part, winning that series in Ruston. I think Miami and Virginia was really interesting to me. I mean, if you're Miami, you lose the Florida series, then against Virginia. To me, you showed a lot by coming back late in those games. Daniel Cuvée, was really, really good. I mean, he had just a mammoth home run in one of those two games. It's the Cavaliers. They lost the finale, but even the finale, it's like this is a team that even at 14-11 late in the game, you're like, you want to tune in because you never know, they might make another comeback. So, I thought Miami kind of showed me something over the weekend. And then I guess the other one that stood out to me would be Nebraska and South Al. South Al, Mark Calvey, they had a really weird year, very, very La Tech-ish in the sense that they had a very uncharacteristic 2023 campaign. They've been off to a hot start this year, but Nebraska, after losing the opener 11-3, comes back to win that series. Will Bolt's got a really nice club when you look at, Carey and Josh Overbeek in the middle of that lineup. They've got some pitching depth. All of a sudden, with Iowa scuffling, especially in the bullpen, Indiana looking, beatable now. Nebraska's moving up the pecking order in the Big Ten at the moment.
Yep. Very good. Fitzy, you want to do your third one, or you want to go after me?
You can go ahead, Runes. I want to see what you got.
Yeah, I want to follow up what you said about Miami and UVA, Kendall. Like Miami's pitching concerns were big time evident in that deal. But what my real big takeaway from there is just like Miami's got that dog in them right now. And I might be butchering that expression, but like they're like I just love. Did I nail it? Thank you. 10 on the dismount. Miami's just got that. They're just like junkyard dog in them, right? Like they were just up for it against Virginia. Like, I don't know how good Miami is, and they've lost a bunch of games already, but I just love that they were just like, let's go. Like, like bar fight meter was off the charts. And like, if that's going to be the new Miami under JD Arteaga, like, count me in. Like, I loved it. Like, I don't know. Miami's just always felt talented to me, but they were feisty. Go ahead, Fitzy.
I thought they had that in them last year too. Like that particular group last year, I thought had that junkyard dog in them. That and they just they fell flat at the end of the year. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that's been kind of there the last few years with this group.
But last year's team was better than this year's team.
It was.
Like, I would take last year's roster over this one. Yeah, for sure. So I think Miami's kind of fun right now. Like, I'm kind of digging them. I loved what you said about Nebraska, Kendall. Like, they were not the early season darlings in the Big Ten, but they have my attention. Cal sweeping UCLA. Like, I am gravely concerned about UCLA. I think they're 5-9 right now. Like, they're in real trouble. Like, there's just nothing is going good for them right now. I just like Cal is just like, there's this big open space in the Pac-12, and Cal's like, don't mind if we do. Like, right? Like, this is without Ian May, and the Cal's in first place 3-0, and so that I thought was really cool. I think the other one that I would mention is I watched a lot of Florida St. Mary's, and I'm concerned about Florida. They're so talented, but like Liam Peterson just wasn't great. And is it Luke McNeely, the freshman? His stuff was awesome, but it didn't bug St. Mary's at all. And I get it. Like, St. Mary's has 6 seniors in their lineup. That's hard. Like, that's a good team. But yeah. And I will say this about the Arkansas offense. I don't know what to make of it. Like, I'm excited that Peyton Stovall's back. Like, he was good. He was good against McNeese. But that's if Arkansas plays good offense, they're going to be in Omaha. That's how I think that's how we all feel.
Yep.
Who was your third one, Fitzy?
So, Texas Tech, I didn't see that coming. I really thought it was danger zone for the Longhorns going to Lubbock, coming off a bad week, 0-3, right at Minute Maid. Texas Tech's so good at home. And for Texas to go in there and outslug them a couple times, I don't know. I still worry about Texas pitching. I mean, they didn't pitch great this weekend, but maybe the offense is good enough that they can be okay in the Big 12. I mean, it just feels like the Big 12 is going to be chaos. Like, I still believe TCU is clearly the team to beat this weekend, notwithstanding. I know they lost their first weekend, but like, I feel like they're clearly the class of the conference. But then it's like, who knows, man? Like, it's like that series kind of upset the apple cart for me as far as what I expected this conference to look like. I mean, I think we were all a little nervous about the Longhorns, and now it's just like, well, who knows? Like, maybe Texas is okay. I mean, Kendall, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I still have question marks about Texas's bullpen, but I think my takeaway from the weekend in that series was, last week was a lot for Texas. I mean, you go 0-3, you lose a heartbreaker to Texas State, you get pummeled by your rival on Tuesday. It'd be easy for things to kind of catch up with you a little bit. And, for Texas to come out and take 2 or 3 in that series in a place that, I mean, there's not a place that'll go in the Big 12 that wants to beat them more than Texas Tech. I thought it's kind of said a lot about the psyche of that club. That showed me a little something. I think for me, I came out of that weekend with more question marks about Texas Tech. If you remember our preseason pod, our big question on Tech was, hey, we think they're going to hit, and we think there's more talent on the mound, but will they actually go out there and produce? Their pitching was atrocious over the weekend. And I agree with Aaron. I think the Big 12 is wide open. I think the Big 12 is one of those leagues that if their pitching does not improve, they could be in trouble, because I think Kansas State's better than they've been playing. I think Kansas is a good club. Oklahoma gets the series sweep over UCF. UCF hasn't been bad. So, I mean, this league, Oklahoma State's starting to play a little bit better. Like, Oklahoma State's pitching has gotten much better the last couple of weeks. They're in a position now where they're going to have to improve on the mound, or Texas Tech could get behind the 8 ball big time.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you, Kendall. Like, it was disappointing for Tech. Like, I really liked Tech's team coming in. It felt like they were back a little bit, and Texas was right for the picking, and they just – yeah, Tech was like, you can't give up 22 runs on Kyle Robinson's start. Like, that's insanity. Oof. And even in Lubbock and Texas, it's reinforcement for me that David Pierce just runs such a good program. Like, they're just like I'm thinking about that show where you're, in a ship in a stormy sea, and David Pierce just does it. Right? Like they do these major league, like the Minute Maid tournament, they get waxed every year, and then it's still fine, right? They're fine at the end of the year. So, yeah, it was interesting. There was a lot of results this weekend, but now we get this week we'll get the preview SEC play. Let's wrap with this, boys. We're 4 weeks in. It's been a lot. This has been like last year was so obvious, right? Like LSU had Skeens and Cruz. Wake Forest came out of nowhere to be this super team. I felt like the storylines just kind of like punched you in the face last year. This year, it feels like there's more to kind of get your arms around. There's a lot of different stuff happening. Here's what I wanted to wrap today's pod. I want each of us to pick two. We could pick more, but let's pick two. Give me two of your favorite players to watch in college baseball this year. I'll say it another way. Give me a couple players that you would pay to go watch. You'd pay to see them play. So some of the fun players in college baseball, because I think this year they're kind of more emerging, whereas last year it was like so obvious. If you guys want, I could go first, or if you have a couple. Kendall, you want to go, or you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first?
So I'd say the first one on the mound for me is Hagen Smith. Like he had that one outing, which was crazy. He had another outing. So the average strikeout percentage, the average K rate in college baseball is 20%. That means that a pitcher will strike out 20% of the batters that they face. Hagen Smith currently, his K percentage is 61.5%. He is striking out more than 6 out of every 10 batters that he faces. I went and watched some of it on Synergy today. It is a joke, all caps. His slider, you can't see it. You can't hit it. You just, again, like, I don't know if I texted you guys, but if I was coaching a team against Hagen Smith right now, I would tell my first 3 hitters that they should go to church the morning of the game and just good luck. And my other 6 hitters, I would say you're taking till 2 strikes and then just God bless you. Like, what are you going to do with that? It's craziness. Can
I put you on the spot? Because I was on Darren Vought's ACC Etc. podcast today, and he put me on the spot, and I dodged the question, but I want to know what you guys think. You are on the clock. You're Cleveland Guardians. You have to make a pick. Are you taking Hagen Smith or are you taking Chase Burns?
I'm taking Hagen Smith. I think there's less effort in the operation, even though it's, he will show you a little bit of a reliever profile at times. But I think the real answer is yes. Like I would take either of them in a heartbeat, right? But I would take Hagen Smith. He's left-handed. I think the strikes come a little bit easier to him. I think he's more likely to stay as a starter. How'd you answer it, Fitzy?
I dodged, but I will say this: I'll take the Burns position for purpose of this particular show. I'm going to reserve my decision for later because I saw both of them now at their absolute peak. Right, I was front and center there for Hagen striking out. What was it 17 guys against
basically everyone that he faced that night struck out basically.
And this past week to see what Burns did against an elite Duke offense that leads the country in OPS. He struck out 14 guys in 6 innings. Here's the thing. Burns has gotten way better. He's always been electric. The stuff's always been what it is, but we're talking about a guy now who's 97 and 99 for 6 innings and bumping 100, 101 with elite carry, 2,700, spin and 24 vert, whatever, elite carry on the fastball with command. Okay. With command. All right. It's not just strikes, it's command in the zone at 100. And the slider is an elite slider that it's
improved too. It was already good and it's improved.
It's even better. And he can land it for a strike at will. And he can get it for a chase 2 inches off the plate or 4 inches off the plate or whatever he wants. His command blew me away, frankly, for that stuff. And, oh, by the way, he'll drop in this bigger breaking ball and even the change up, it's there. I do think he's right-handed. So okay, he's not left-handed, but I think his fastball is more electric than Hagen's, even though Hagen is even if it's 96, 99 from the left side early in the game, he's not getting the swing and miss on that fastball that Burns is. Burns, you got 2 elite swing and miss pitches with the fastball and the slider. Hagen, it's really a slider. That's the pitch. That's the out pitch. And so I mean, like, if you're looking for like a Skeens comp, like what I saw the other day was Skeensian, like that elite fastball and slider with command of both, like high end command of both. Like it was very, very eye opening.
Yeah, it's awesome. So let's call Burns off the board and let's call Hagen Smith off the board. Kendall, who's a player that jumps off that you would be, you'd pay to go see this kid play?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the times I've watched A&M this year, like Braden Montgomery is in the zone, man. Like he was a guy that I thought last year, and like he hit tanks last year. Let's not get that wrong. But I felt like there was a lot of swing and miss there with Braden. So far this year, 16 walks, 11 strikeouts. His power has been unbelievable. He's hitting 398. And I know that sounds really low compared to like Charlie Condon, but he's just one of those guys that, man, like when he comes up to the plate, like you're expecting these fireworks. And when you go to a game and there's a guy like that in the lineup, it just makes things ultra exciting.
He makes the game look so easy. Like it's just he takes over
like
a game.
He looks
like
exactly
he's not even
the way
sweating.
you want it to look.
Yeah.
Like he looks exactly the way you want a premier hitter and a premier prospect to look.
Yeah.
100%. Fitzy, what's another one for you?
So I didn't get to come on the show because of travel the week after Globe Life. And so I didn't get to rave about my man Travis Bazzana, the wonder from down under,
good.
The Bazmanian devil, if you will. But my God, I mean, this guy's awesome. He's, I just couldn't have been more impressed with him as a player and as an interview. I mean, I wrote about it, of course, in the Golden Spike Spotlight about how thoughtful and uncommonly insightful he was. Like the kind of questions where usually you just get like brushed aside, like, oh, like why are you so good against in these left on left matchups? And he like gives you these like detailed, thoughtful things about like how it's actually like I like hitting against lefties because it's really only going to be 2 pitches. You can kind of take away, you don't have to worry about a changeup or whatever. It's just like we're going to focus on fastball and breaking ball, and it helps me kind of get my barrel extended up front and all like just the thoughtfulness of it. I was like, what? Like usually that's just like, oh, I don't know, I'm just standing in there and like whatever. Like it's just like you don't ever get that kind of actual like thoughtful answer. That blew me away.
Was that Jim Callis talking a minute ago?
I love it. It was America.
But I mean, like, look, here's the other thing. He's explosive, right? Like, and as I asked him, hey, like this power surge you got going on this year, I mean, is just like standard. You're a junior now, you get stronger year over year, like maturation. He's actually, I was pretty strong, like and thick when I got here, and he's just like, like, I already had that, he's always had this elite feel for the barrel, but like he's thick, but he's like a tank. He's explosive, like in the way that Sal Frelick, one of my all time favorites, of course, was like short, but explosive, like a freaking tank. And I kind of see that's my comp for Bazzana, and Frelick now is playing second base also, but like it's that elite runner, the like multi-sport guy in Frelick's case, like hockey kind of just, that mentality, that athleticism. I think Bazzana's probably got more power than Frelick, but like they're both like 70 runners and they both have, left-handed hitters with feel for the barrel and elite makeup. And so I just think the guy's exceptionally exciting. Obviously we've all liked Bazzana for 3 years. Like since the first game of his career, it felt like he's been a dude. But like, man, oh man, I'm all in on the guy.
Yeah, he's going to put up stupid numbers. Like if there was, like just the steals, the runs, everything, the home runs. He's an absolute human stat machine. So, Kendall, who's another one for you? Another player that that you just love watching.
I'll tell you what, Cuvée has been really interesting, man.
Yeah.
Like at Miami, I feel like there's so many talented freshmen this year between, him and, Grahovic, et cetera,
Burris,
Trent Caraway. Yeah. I mean, there's so many of those guys, but just looking at his physique and looking at just the explosiveness off his bat, that home run he hit against Virginia. I mean, that thing was absolutely torched. Like he's just ultra exciting again. Like for a freshman to do what he's doing offensively right now, and to be a guy that like the team is waiting for you to come up as a freshman. Number one, that's gonna be an awesome feeling for him. Number two, it just means he's a very special player. So he's on my board for sure.
Yep. Yeah, that's another good one. There's so many good choices. Like you mentioned, Charlie Condon in passing
Yeah.
Fitzy. Like, this dude's a 6'6". He's like a Richie Sexton, but a better athlete and a better defender. And the kid redshirted his freshman year and then went to the Northwoods League and grinded it out. Didn't leave early, stayed for the whole season, and now whether he's going to be the first pick in the draft or not is irrelevant. But the fact that he's even in that conversation, I just think about all those freshmen that are out there right now that are not playing a lick. And this kid's going to be an easy first rounder. I love RJ Green, Rodney Green Jr. from Cal. He's not off to a great start, but he's really fun to watch. He's just so gifted. Jay Laviolette and Will Gasparino. That we have 2 6'6" center fielders in college baseball at prominent programs. They're 6'6" and athletic to play in the middle of the field at a program like that. I love Seaver King is a work in progress, but he's fun. Like he's a fun watch. Right, Fitzy? Like he just gets after it.
Yeah. Can I just say, and I won't talk about this long because I actually talked about this on Darren's show earlier, but like, first time I really got to watch him was this weekend in person. I missed him with Team USA last year. Joe, and Seif saw Wake in the fall. I didn't see him. So like, I was kind of wondering myself, like, is this guy a little overhyped? I mean, he hadn't had a great start to the year. There's some swing and miss here, but the dude's electric. I mean, it's like, it's holy cow, it's bat speed galore. They had to put him at shortstop for the last game and a half this weekend because Merrick Houston had a hamstring deal and he made a play in the hole. I don't know if you guys saw it I don't know if you watched it on Sunday, but like, deep in the hole. Jeter jump throw across his body and absolute strike to first base. It's like as good a play as a shortstop can make, and he made it look easy. Like it's a live athlete, man. Oh boy.
Yeah, he's awesome. The other players I wrote down when I was thinking about this was like Brody Brecht is so fun, right? Like just crazy athlete. His best days are ahead of him. Griffo Farrell, I love watching because it's like Phil Rizzuto in playing college baseball in 2024. Like he's a good athlete who looks like a bad athlete, and just he looks like he's gonna, I don't know if he's gonna catch the ball or eat the ball, but he like every play is an out if it's hit to him. He's just like he's not as glamorous as these other guys, but if you had to win a game, 100% of the time you'd put him at shortstop. It's every single time. Yeah.
It's like the spiritual heir to like a Nolan Fontana or like a Ben Orloff to me. Like he probably got more tools than those guys, but like it's like that kind of player.
Yeah, Caleb Lomavita, we had him in Vegas. He swings with no fear. Like he had a walk-off 3-run homer against UCLA to end the series for Cal. Like he's fun. He's such a good athlete. I've talked to you guys about Luke Cantwell from Pitt is just hilarious. Vance Honeycutt, we're lucky to have him in college baseball. I hope Vance Honeycutt, and he may already be doing this, I hope he just strikes out 100 times this year. Just let it rip. Right, like I'm actually over making contact for Vance Honeycutt. Just rob home runs, steal 50 bases, hit 30 home runs, and strike out 100 times. Like I want Vance Honeycutt to spend the whole dollar, and he may be doing that anyway. But I want him to play with no tension whatsoever.
Yeah. Can I
go for it?
Since you're throwing 100 names at us, can I throw a couple more?
Yes.
Again, I didn't get to go on the show after the Frisco last week. So Grant Jay is a dude. First off, holy cow, best player on the field. And that was a really strong field at Frisco. But like that guy's for Dallas Baptist, your sophomore catcher, hit 21 home runs as a freshman. But it's like, he's already got 9. And he's like a 1400 OPS or something. It's easy juice. It's a great approach. He looks really good behind the plate. He didn't get to catch every day last year, but now he is. And he's special, man. He's a big time dude. And then the other guy from Frisco that jumped out to me was Ben Hess. I mean, boy, have I been blessed to catch some great pitching performances the first month of the year, but that guy was awesome. Again, was it Indiana? I think that he played. It was, we're talking like a big old, like Lance Lynn looking fella, like a big old large human who's it's the fastball that's like up in the zone.
Trying to say you look like a big old country boy without saying it.
I mean, big old country boy looking fella. He took a line drive, a comebacker, and Rob Vaughn afterwards, like, yeah, fortunately he's got a little extra weight there. I told him to hit him in the love handle.
Conditioning's optional.
But like it's like your old school like Clemens, like Lance Lynn type body, but like it's just like power fastball with 2 big time breaking ball, slider and curveball, both sharp, late, tight. Really, really liked what I saw from that dude for threes. If he could stay healthy all year long, I mean, that's a top 15 pick for me.
Yep. Kendall, can I pick one for you?
Yeah, sure.
Luke Holman. You've seen him in person, right?
I was going to pick him, so I'm glad you did that.
Do it.
I think as we talk about, guys like Brody Breck who throw 100, obviously it's exciting to watch, right? I mean, Luke Holman strikes me as like an old school ace in the sense that like it's going to be 91, 93. He's going to bump a couple of fours early, but after that it's going to be literally 91, 92 and bumping a three, and he is going to mix and match the fastball slider. He's going to mix in some changeups, but he's going to throw those pitches to every single quadrant of the strike zone. And I just think that's special to watch. I mean, this is a guy that has 40 strikeouts, 4 walks in 24 innings right now. Has not given up a run for LSU. And so he's just a lot of fun to watch, man, because he's just surgical out there. It's very, he's more like talented than Michael Roth. So I guess it's not Michael Roth-like, but like he's just very surgical in the sense of like Roth always pounded the zone and you never knew where the ball was going to go. That's kind of the way Holman is.
Well, it is like Michael Roth. It's so funny that you picked Michael Roth, Kendall, because I was going to say he reminds me of like a modern day Kip Balknight. I always don't know how to say that name. Balknight, I think is how you say it. Where like when Luke Holman pitches, LSU is winning. And that's it. That's the end of the story. Like they're not losing the night he pitches. It's like you can't generate enough offense against him. He suffocates you, and then their offense relaxes and just they score 4. It's done. Like and he's doing it with 2 pitches. Like you're right, Kendall. He mixes in a change, but it's really elite fastball command, a wicked slider, and thanks for coming out. It's awesome.
Well, the other thing about Luke too is like his makeup is off the charts. Like the night I saw him pitch against Texas. I mean, he was electric, and he still, after the game, was like, yeah, I could have been better. Like, it was good, but, like, I could have been better. Like, it's just one game, blah, 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 blah. And, like, you can just tell, like, he definitely was not too high or too low. And I just think when you have a Friday guy that has a steady heartbeat like that, there's an insane value to me to having a guy that is, as Jay Johnson, every time he goes out there, you know exactly what you're going to get. There's no, Jack Cags where, like, he may go out there one outing, go 6 and punch out 9 like he did over the weekend or whatever it was, and then the next week he gives up a 6 spot in the first. Like, you're never going to get that with Luke Holman. And so I think there's a huge value in that. But both now and also professionally, like, looking forward.
Yeah, you could see him pitching for a long, long time.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to give you guys one more name that we'll end on.
Mm-hmm.
So Hagen Schott at A&M. Is like I heard him on Steven Schock's podcast, and I think he's going to be a return guest. First of all, I have a list on Twitter. I call it 2024 college baseball or whatever year I call it, and I am very selective on who I put on there because it's like when I'm in a hurry, my when I'm in a hurry list. And Hagen Schott just made that list. So he is a must follow if you're a college baseball fan. He tweets after every A&M game. He tortures Jace Laviolette. Like Jace Laviolette's like his little brother that follows him everywhere. And, they call him Lord Tubington. And it just like Hagen Schott is glorious. We are lucky to, he went to Cypress Junior College, and then he went to Columbia, and now he's at A&M, and he's just, he's glorious. He just makes fun of Braden Montgomery for being too good. It's, he talks about Jace Laviolette, hitting all these home runs. He says that's no feel, making the rest of your teammates look like jerks. It's just, he's really, Hagen Schott he's another one. Like we are, I'm expressing gratitude. We are lucky to have Hagen Schott in college.
Well, what's really interesting about guys like that is actually our photog guy, Eddie Kelly, was sending us some pictures the other day of Laviolette and like Schott during games, like laughing in the middle of the game. And like there's a huge value to having a guy like that on your team, like that just kind of keeps the clubhouse loose and joking, and because that's needed in a any league really, like especially in the SEC where it's just a total meat grinder, just to have that kind of personality. And also, we talked about this before the season with A&M, but to have a guy like that has seen so many pitchers and has that many at bats, like he checks a lot of boxes for those guys.
It's like the Michael Roth effect, right? Where like the elite head coaches are typically type A and wired. They're wired really tightly wound, right? Like that's what makes them great. But the great teams have a player like a Michael Roth or Hagen Schott. When the head coach is losing his mind, that the rest of the team looks at that player and says, "We're fine. That's right. Like that's what makes him great, and let's just go do our thing," right?
I love that. That's so well said. And you think about the 2014 Vandy teams, like Corbs could be tightly wound, of course, and they had a lot of those kind of guys, and certainly Tanner. I mean, he talked openly about like how Roth and Price and all those guys did that for him. Chris Pollard, we talked about as a Type A guy. My man Chuck B, the Public Enemy. I'm workshopping this nickname. We're in the beta testing phase.
Everyday Chuck or something.
He's got that personality. Holy cow, you guys! Like, he's an all-time all-fit guy already. Like, it's just like it's incredible.
Is he short enough?
Yeah, he's whatever, 6 foot 5'11" righty. Like he's definitely like in the wheelhouse.
Oh, he's perfect. He's like the all fit perfect reliever. I mean 5'11", 220. Like that's perfect.
Yeah, 6-year senior who like like basically comes out of nowhere and like he's nasty. God, he's nasty. And
he's better in the ACC than he was in the Ivy League. Who does that?
Yeah, I mean like dramatically,
crazy?
It's insane. And just talk about fun to watch. Like I remember watching Stephen Schock close out a game at Virginia Tech. And on the road in the hostile atmosphere, the Tech fans are right on top of you when they're good, especially like they're on you. And I remember Schock like just hurling his glove as far as he could, and like just the greatest celebration after he closed them out. And Chuck B at Wake Forest the other day, like he channeled some Stephen Schock with just like just like it was dynamite, man. I love that dude.
So good. Gentlemen, this was fun. I was looking for joy tonight. I didn't really care about the information. I wanted a joyous podcast, and you all delivered. We succeeded. Very fun. This is going to be an incredible week. I mean, we start SEC play, which is the best regular season in our sport, 10 straight weeks, no breaks, no buys, none of that nonsense. By the way, the Fun Belt deserves credit. They do the same thing. 10 weeks of Fun Belt play, no buys, no breaks. I love that. And that's it. Never a bad time to get your sub to D1 Baseball, but if you haven't done it yet, do it right now, right when you turn this podcast off. Kendall, if they type in Kirk Herbstreit at checkout, 24% off, how much off?
That'll be about 67% over market value.
Check Kendall's Twitter for 2 reasons. One, you got to see his mom's text. It's an all-time great text. One of the great texts in the history of that version of technology. Also, Kendall has the coupons on his Twitter timeline. So, gentlemen, appreciate it. Everyone have a great week. We'll catch you for the preview show this week, and we will also catch you next time.